Hello, this is Jim for the Monopoly Project. We're aboard the Monopoly Project yacht here on Val Vista Lakes. Of course, every successful real estate investor has a yacht. And this is the Monopoly Project yacht with Captain Jim. Fortunately, it's the Bikini Girls' day off, so you just have me here on the lake. And it's a nice day on beginning of April. And today we are here to review two books on chemistry. The first one is called It's Elemental, The Hidden Chemistry in Everything. 304 pages, written in 2022 by Kate Biberdorf. And it's a look at chemistry from everyday applications. And the second book is called The Medieval Canon from 1326 to 1494. It's for only 48 pages. It's a paperback written in 2019 by Jonathan Davies, who's of course an Englishman with a bunch of strange friends who actually look at the use of medieval canons in that time frame in war and whether it had an effect. And the best thing about it, of course, is that they actually recreate some of them and make their own gunpowder. So in any case, we're gonna go on to our first book here. Okay, this is Jim, Captain Jim for the Monopoly Project. We're doing our floating book reviews here in April, and the first book we have here is called It's Elemental, The Hidden Chemistry in Everything by Dr. Kate Biberdorf. It is, let's see what do we say here. It's Elemental. It's 304 pages, paperback. The Amazon description is, have you ever wondered what makes dough rise, or how your morning coffee gives you an energy boost, or why your shampoo is making your hair look greasy? The answer's in chemistry. And so from the moment we wake up until the time we go to sleep, chemistry is at work. And so I read this book. I really enjoyed it. It's, like I said, a practical book. It's theory and practice. We actually changed the way, Michelle changed the way she makes omelets in the book in the morning, because we read some stuff in the book and it showed different ways to do it, and it comes out different. And so, like I said, the first half of the book is theory, and the second half of the book is practical. And I found it more interesting, you know, how to make omelets, coffee, alcohol, all those things of how chemistry works in our mind. I did have one big objection to the book, and it's the very first comment in the introduction, but I'm going to skip that first and make some random comments about the book, because there's some really good, interesting stuff in here. You can see we have a rower behind us and a kayaker on that side, just coming into the screen right here. And so we got quite a bit of activity on the lake here. So just a couple mentions on page 76. Yeah, she mentions the show Ice Road Truckers, which of course was one of our favorites, because you would watch it and nothing would ever happen, and every time they showed the intro of the truck going through the ice, and that was the only interesting part of the whole 30-minute episode. On page 106, she explains how caffeine works. It doesn't really wake you up. It blocks a chemical that makes you sleepy, something like that. Again, like I said, on page 113, how to make an omelet with eggs and milk, and the different things if you mix up the eggs or if you leave them whites and yolks and all that. And we did try different ways, and she's right. You know, you can tailor it to the way you want. Page 127, why cotton fabrics are not good for working out. Page 129, she discusses digesting food, ATP, adenosine triphosphate, the energy mechanism we use, and also how to lose weight. What's the mechanism of losing weight? And so page 140, she talks about painkillers such as aspirin, heroin, OxyContin, and how they work. We're going under the bridge. And on page 147, she goes into a long and detailed discussion on shampoo and how it works, and various hair conditioners and hair straighteners and all those things. And as you can see, I really don't have much use for those things, so I pretty much skipped over that pretty quickly. On page 191, she talks about baking. I guess she's a big baker, besides being a professor of chemistry. But she said something interesting that I wouldn't have expected, and that is for her, the key to baking is to be precise and to measure by volume, not by weight. And whenever I read books by chefs, they say, well, don't worry about the exact recipe, just wing it. And apparently she's not in that category, at least not on the subject of baking. On page 236, she talks about alcohol and goes into a little detail of how it works. And so I wish, that's one of the things I wish she would have gotten into a little more detail on alcohol and also on the painkillers. But you can, if you want more, if you want to be scared of ever having a single drink ever anymore, you can read or you can see a video called "What Alcohol Does to Your Brain" by Dr. Andrew Huberman of Stanford. He's I think a neurologist, and some other, doctorates. But if you look at his video, you'll never take another drink again, because he starts off pretty mild and then he just goes off the deep end. And it's interesting, the top rated comment on Amazon was, "This entire episode ended my desire to drink alcohol again. I know that I will at some point, but I can never unsee this episode. Dr. Huberman does not hold back and tells us exactly what we need to hear regarding this literal poison that's so socially acceptable. Thank you, Dr. Huberman and the team, for this sobering lesson on alcohol." And he does, Huberman does call alcohol literally poison. And if you want to hear a counter view on alcohol, you can see our book review 2 or 3 months ago. It'll be in the write-up here on the book Drunk, on why we as humans continue to use alcohol as a society, even though it does have terrible effects on individuals. And so anyway, like I said, it's a very entertaining book. The one objection I had, on page 9, it's actually on the introduction, she asked the question, I'm sure tongue-in-cheek, is, which element on the periodic table is the best? And she says, you can see that right here, and she says it's palladium, obviously, with no explanation or no defense of the subject. And I say obviously not. The coolest element, the best element, is iron. And there's 3 reasons: nuclear physics, atomic physics, which is better known as chemistry, and Bible physics. So why is iron the best of the elements? Because it's the most stable element. Iron 56 has 26 protons and 30 neutrons, and it has the highest binding energy of any nuclei. And therefore, when something becomes iron through nucleosynthesis, it stays iron, unless you're in a supernova, and then of course it gets built up into bigger elements. But iron is the most stable. And so from nuclear physics, iron is the epitome of the elements. And so eventually the whole universe will end in near infinity as iron everywhere in a bath of millikelvin photons. So nuclear physics, number 1, atomic physics, which of course is better known as chemistry. Iron is the material base. 2 reasons. Iron is the material basis of our economy. We use steel and steel reinforced concrete to basically do all our real serious building. So iron is the basis of our civilization. We're still in the Iron Age now, after we went through the Bronze Age and all those previous ages. We're still in the Iron Age. And again, even more importantly, is iron is the basis of our very life. The hemoglobin, I don't know if I have a picture of it here, the hemoglobin molecule, you can see right here. And now you're going to get the sun right behind you. So I don't know if you can see that or not. I can. There we go. That hemoglobin molecule, of course, carries oxygen in our blood. That's why blood is red. You got oxygen binding with the iron atom in the hemoglobin molecule. When it gets to where we need it, it lets it go. We have oxygen and we live. So iron, from a chemistry point of view, is the basis of our economy, and it's the basis of our very breathing. And finally, on Bible physics, Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And you can see here Ryan, Jeff from the Monopoly Project, and myself being sharpened together. So iron is definitely the number one number one element. And okay, I am now missing. I'm now trying to find where I got. I apparently have forgotten my one on carbon. But my second choice for the best element, let me make a turn here so we can get the sun out of here. And then the sun will be in my face and you won't be, you'll be able to see me, but I won't be able to see you, which is probably the best compromise. In any case, my second choice for the best element is carbon. And again, from a nuclear physics point of view, carbon is the reason why there are elements above helium. The triple alpha process is the process by which 3 helium nuclei get fused together into a carbon nuclei, and it only works because carbon has an excited state that allows the 3 to come together, or 2 to come together, and then the third one to come in in a very narrow window, a very narrow cross section. But it makes enough carbon, and then another one might jump in and make an oxygen atom. That this is the basis of all of the nuclei above helium. If it wasn't for the triple alpha project and carbon having this special property, we would not have, there would be no life, and the universe would just solely consist of helium and hydrogen and nothing else. So that's the triple alpha process, which allows nucleosynthesis. And then the atomic basis, of course, is that we're carbon-based life forms. We're based on the fact that carbon has 4 bonds, and therefore it can form long chains with hydrocarbons and other things. That allows us to live. The only other element that has that is silicon, which also has 4 bonds and can form long chains. But the problem with silicon is that when you put silicon together with oxygen, like we talked about in the hemoglobin, you get silicon dioxide, which is sand, and obviously you can't breathe sand out. That's the great thing about carbon. When carbon combines with oxygen, you get carbon dioxide, which is a gas which you can breathe out. So anyway, that's the basis for choosing carbon as our second choice for best element ever. And then from a scriptural Bible physics, I couldn't find any mention of carbon in the Bible, so that's why iron wins 3-2. In any case, like I said, It's Elemental by Kate Biberdorf. It's a good book. It's entertaining. And if you're interested in that stuff, especially the second half where she goes through the chemistry of day-to-day stuff, it's actually very well done. So thank you. This is Jim from Monopoly Project, and we'll go on to our next book review here in a minute.